May I have your attention? May I please have your attention? Super Sundays. Yeah, baby. We're back at it again. Let's get it.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
Let's get it. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sir Hill Speaks Super Sundays. I'm glad that you're here. I wanted to take a moment to tell you guys how much I appreciate you. We've been doing these shows for months now, and you guys have been showing up consistently as we take on and we tackle different challenges and different topics. So I appreciate you. But here's what we're trying to do going forward. We want to grow this audience to people who need to hear content like this. And so we need your help. How can you help us? That's a fantastic question. Be sure to make sure you hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe and make sure you hit that notification bell for all of the content that we have, particularly Super Sundays. All right, guys, sit back, relax, enjoy. Make sure you invite somebody to Sir Hill Speaks Super Sundays. We're getting ready to go in. We're going to have a good time. Happy Sunday, everybody. Let's get to the show.
Me go beast on them. I go beast, go deep, I OG on them. I OG, apply pressure, put heat on them. Put that 0 degrees on them. 500 degrees, go dummy, go beast on them. I go beast, go deep, I OG on them. I OG, apply pressure, put heat on them. Put that 0 degrees on them. Down, levitate, going up, elevate. Watch me demonstrate. On time, never late. I grind, celebrate. No pump fake, hesitate. I've been scoring every day. Champagne, Perrier. Since 9-3, been in the box, now stepping up tone. Like straight out the sandlot, now I'm plotting on the globe. I work hard, I show love, that karma steady growing. Got this far, I go hard, let God take control. I was starving skinny, now my weight up, got no energy for haters. See you trying, see you later. I'm shooting for the stars, need no laser beam, blowing like the greatest, but it's one who's always greater. Yo, go dummy, go beast on them. I go beast, go deep, I OG on them. I OG, apply pressure, put heat on them. Put that 0 degrees on them. 500 degrees, go dummy, go beast on them. I go beast, go deep, I OG on them. I OG, apply pressure, put heat on them. Put that 0 degrees on them. Smell good, skin clear. This here my year. Hey, look up here. This here my tier. Same fit 4 days. I grind 4 ways. I play no games. All me, no blame. On the wave, my own wave. Can't stop my shine. In the lane, my own lane. Can't stop my grind. 40 yard in the V12 like 1.5. At 19, I clip 19 in a month, no lie. Oh God. I was starving skinny, now my weight up, got no energy for haters. See you trying, see you later. I'm shooting for the stars, need no laser beam, blowing like the greatest, but it's one who's always greater. Yo, go dummy, go beast on them. I go beast, go deep, I OG on them. I OG, apply pressure, put heat on them. Put that 0 degrees on them. 500 degrees, go dummy, go beast on them. I go beast, go deep, I OG on them. I OG, apply pressure, put heat on them. Put that 0 degrees on them. 500 degrees.
Likes up, everybody. The show's getting ready to start.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sunday edition of Sir Hill Speaks Super Sunday. I am your host for the evening, Lost in Translation Podcast. Every Sunday we'll be going live from here on out from Lost in Translation Podcast. Tonight we have a fantastic show, and I hope you guys are ready. But first of all, I want to go ahead and get the thanks out of the way. I want to thank Black David. Y'all know him as CBN. I'm being point guard by the best tonight. I also have an all-star panel that I'll be introducing to you shortly. I want to thank everybody in the chat and to the millions watching around the world and those who'll be watching on the replay. So first of all, Sir Hill, if you're watching in the clouds, sir, thank you again for allowing us to have Super Sunday at the Lost in Translation Podcast. I'm going to go ahead and get the welcomes out of the way. For the people who are watching on the replay, Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a sensational Sunday like no other. Get ready to elevate your weekend with Sir Hell Speaks Super Sunday podcast. Join us as we embark on an inspiring journey of wisdom, wit, and wonderment with the one and only Sir Hell Speaks. Every Sunday, we're diving deep into the realms of knowledge, laughter, and thought-provoking conversations. Whether you're sipping your morning coffee, lounging in your favorite armchair, or out on a refreshing Sunday stroll, this podcast is your perfect companion. Get ready to be enlightened, entertained, and engaged. So sit back and relax. Let Super Sunday Podcast infuse your day with positivity and insight. It's time to kickstart Sunday in style with Sir Hell Speaks Super Sunday. All right. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and bring up my first guest. Y'all know him as Reckless Ray De Niro. Come on up, Ray.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Reckless Ray De Niro in the building.
All right. Y'all know her as Miss Jenny Jones. Y'all seen her around on the Black Man Unfiltered. Let's give it up for Miss Jenny Jones. Let's give it up.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing, Miss Jenny?
I'm great. I'm a lot
So
better
glad you
than
can join us.
you guys.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. I also want to invite everybody to the chat. I know you guys are watching. Mr. He said, and she said, I know y'all watching in the clouds. Black Man Unfiltered, thank you so much for joining us. Tonight's show, we're going to be talking about what do people expect out of marriage? Is marriage a capstone or is marriage a cornerstone? A lot of times people like to think of marriage as the starting line. Some people like to look at it as the finish line. Tonight we'll be discussing that. So if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get started. Black David, how are you today this evening, sir? Thank you so much for joining us. All right, let's go ahead and get going. The first thing we want to talk about, our girl is in the news again, y'all, Miss Tia. And I want to go ahead and share a little something on my screen. And what brought upon this particular conversation, I was watching a YouTube channel, and they were talking about, is marriage a capstone or cornerstone? Everybody knows what a capstone is. A capstone is something that you put on something when it's finished. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times when people get into relationships, they like to look at as a finish line. Yeah, yays, I'm married now. You know what I'm saying? And then you got some people who look at marriage as like, okay, now let's go ahead and get started. Let's build our foundation. So we're going to look at both scenarios and find out what's going on. But before we get started, we're going to make sure that everybody's okay. Reckless Ray, how was your weekend, sir? Go ahead and talk to the people.
Oh, the weekend was wonderful. I was out in them streets. My legs hurt. I went to the gym.
So you went to the gym.
I went to the gym. I was out in them streets a little bit. I slept a lot. Yeah. Well, I'm good.
Good. Miss Jenny, how are you this evening, ma'am?
I am really good. My weekend was really crazy, busy. That's usually how my weekends go. It's kind of the opposite of most people's schedule, where the week is hectic and then the weekend they take a breather. My weeks are very slow, and then my weekends, everything just gets piled on.
Good. Well, I'm glad you can join us this evening. Tonight is a little bit more intimate. That's the reason why I brought you and Ray in, because y'all have a pretty open mindset when it comes to these type of things. And the first thing we want to talk about, your girl Tia is back in the news again. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Tia says, dating is complicated. You know what I'm saying? She says she ain't going back to her husband. You know what I mean? Ray, what do you think about that, man?
Well, you know, the final level of strong, independent women is homelessness. They're the strongest, most independent women ever. They're not going back to houses. They're not going back to air conditioning. They're not going back to heating. They're not going back to cable TV or the internet or any of these things that men built. They have actually completely removed themselves from the patriarchy. And so, you know, maybe she's working on leveling up to that level.
We'll see. Miss Jenny, what do you think about this particular situation? She says she's not going back.
Man, all this Tia news. I mean, ever since she announced that she was leaving her husband, it just makes me so sad. because I watched Sister growing up, and I thought that she and her sister were actually pretty good Black female role models. And then her sister Tamera's pretty good. I like Tamera. But she has just completely derailed herself. And it's like, I don't get it. I mean, what does she think she's gaining from this? All she does now is complain about how bad the dating pool is. And it's like, it's not built for you. The dating pool's not built for women in their 40s. It's built for young people.
This is not built for people in their 40s. I think a lot of people find out a little late in life, man, that their expectations don't always line up with what they actually get. You know what I mean? You know, she talked about she was graduating from her marriage, and I'm like, wait a minute. You know, and she started thinking that, you know, marriage is the capstone, the finishing touches. And I think a lot of times people get wrapped up in the beginning of relationships, and they don't necessarily think about the marriage itself. Marriage is an ongoing marathon. It's not one of those things that, you know, you have the cake and then it's over with. You know what I mean? So also, Tia Mara says dating since her divorce has been exhausting because men don't court women anymore. When I was dating Corey, it was beautiful, amazing, and wonderful. Men are now just looking for women as objects. Miss Jenny, is that true? What's your opinion on that?
Generally speaking, that is true. But there are good men out there, and she knows that because she was married to one. So
Right.
this is just a shame. It's embarrassing, honestly, to see her like this, because it's like she has never given any valid reason as to why she left him. She's never said that he cheated or that he was hitting on her or anything like that. So it's like, I'm not interested in your sob story because you had no reason to leave.
Right. Ray, what do you got?
Man, it's exactly what she said. Like she had a good man, got bored. At her age, the only thing that's out here is stiff pipe, bro. Like that's all that's waiting for. Because look, listen, you'll get busted down. Best believe it. But are you gonna go find and replace with something of that nature? I'll tell you why she left. She felt like he was beneath her. Because he probably actually legitimately loved that woman. He probably actually legitimately cared about her.
Right.
And she's just, I'm not happy. This isn't what I want. Meh. And it's just, like these women literally think that there's a man tree out there. And I'm not going to say that there's not some women who can go find exactly what they're looking for. But you really rolling the dice if you got a good one.
Right.
If you got a man that loves you and he's not trying to hold you back, doing something that's detrimental to you or the family, then like what is it specifically that you're looking for? Because at that point, if you're leaving good men, then what do you actually want? Like if you look at this dude and it's like it's a solid dude, then like why would I even take a risk on you? It should be like you found the apex man, you found a solid good man. I'm also a solid good man. I don't know what the hell else you want besides what this dude was offering, because that was the goal. So I'm going to be aspiring towards the goal as well. So like, you think I'm signing up to get left? No. Like,
you know what I think, man? I think she wants what a lot of people want. It's adoration, man.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if y'all seen this video or not, but back in the day, Tia and Tamera used to hang around Destiny's Child. You know what I mean? So those are they're real good friends. And they see their friends going on, being successful, being admired around the world. And I think sometimes people have a tendency to look over that fence, man, and to see what other people got, you know, and they want the adoration. But, you know, Beyonce ain't leaving her husband. You know what I'm saying? Kelly Rowland ain't leaving her husband. You know what I mean? So it has to be other things that's involved in that. And I have a few videos in the background that I want Black David to show. Sometimes we miss things as people, man. Sometimes we get to see everything. Like David, do me a favor. Play that video with them. And I want y'all to pay attention to his reaction and her reaction. And maybe we can glean something from her situation.
You know, marriage is work.
And that's
marriage is work. I'm
is.
not here. Let me
go ahead, sorry.
I'm not gonna be here like, you know, everything is bro. You have to work hard, you know, to stay married, you know, and stay together. You know what I'm saying? You know, marriage is.
Yeah, did y'all see that? It was subtle. You know what I mean? It was subtle. it was one of those things where he was like, you know, she was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? And to me, in a relationship, man, you can't embarrass people in front of people like that. You know what I mean? And to us on the outside, we may thinking that she may be leaving her family, but we don't really know what's going on. We don't know if this young man is equipped, you know, to be a husband. It's one thing to be a father, but it's a completely different thing to be a husband. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is this, Black David, run that next video about her talking about loving me. You know what I mean? And find out exactly, maybe we can see and look into that and see what's going on and find out what's going on with her in this situation.
Give to a woman who's struggling in a relationship. She's struggling in a relationship that she knows she needs to get out of.
Focus on self-love. Many of times I feel like the reason why a lot of women don't have the courage to get out of a toxic relationship is because they don't love themselves.
Woo! Is Tia Mowry correct? Do we stay in unhealthy relationships because we don't love ourselves? I can only speak for myself. In my case, absolutely. I needed to love myself more. And I need to just get the courage to just get your ass up and walk away, girl. Deuces, you were too bad of a fish to be over here settling. Okay? We deserve the best. Once you decide you deserve the best life has to offer, your whole world changes. Like, share, comment below. Do you believe or agree that people leave when they love themselves? Okay? And follow the page. I want to hear from you. I love you.
What advice?
Jenny, I'm going to go with you first because I already see your face. What's on your mind? What's your thoughts on this one? Are women not loving themselves enough?
It's so cringy. And it's like, honestly, I would say that women who do things like this, like leave relationships where there are no definitive problems, they're just bored, like Ray was saying. It's because you do that kind of thing because you love yourself too much, because you're selfish. Because your life is about you, and you're all about what tickles your fancy, and you're all about what excites you. And if something no longer serves you, you know, to hell with your family and your children and your covenant before God, I'm gonna do what best suits me because I love myself. So it's the exact opposite.
I agree. Ray.
Man, I can't. I can't. This is women will make up all sorts of stuff to excuse their bad behavior and eschew accountability. And like, oh, I've got to love myself. Like, then be by yourself. In loving yourself, did you elect to make a child that didn't want to be here? Is that self-love? Are you checking off boxes? Are you out here racking up bodies, dating dudes that you don't care about? And then when the dude that you're supposed to care about shows up, you've trained yourself to not be able to act accordingly. Like, I just don't, I can't wrap my head around the levels that people will go through to not be accountable for their actions. Just own your stuff. If you don't want to be in a relationship, like, hey, how about this? Don't make kids. Don't do that. Don't make children. Don't bring kids into the mix. That's an option. I mean, there's so many things that you could do if you loved yourself. It's called stay alone. Don't use men for resources. Then don't date. Don't waste their time. Don't be out here. I mean, if you're just out here trying to get busted down, just say that. Just say you want to get busted down. Don't make it this whole game of cat and mouse. Oh, I need a relationship that you don't actually want because you just wanted to get busted down. Right? Y'all liberated. Who cares what anybody else thinks? Just pull the sexy red and just be out here and just say, hey, bro, I need that stretch. Let's go. and be about it. Like, I just don't understand how it gets to all these things. Like, you made a whole ass family and then decided that it was self-love time. What? The second that it becomes greater than yourself, now it's time we got to love myself. I got to go find myself. That's insane. That's insanely selfish. it's insanely detrimental to these children who did not elect to be here.
Exactly.
You're going out of your way to make you going out of your way to choose to be a baby mama. You going out of the way to make another black man a statistic so that they can assume that he's a deadbeat, even though you got bored and left. Like, I just don't understand it. And it's a sign of the times. It's what happens when you have a fall of a civilization. It's what happens because individuals get conquered by people that are functioning as units. Families take out individuals. It's just what it is. Tribes take out individuals. So we can run around here and pretend like this is all cute and sweet right now, but you know, there's about 100,000 men walking over our southern border every day. And guess what? They're not functioning as individuals. They're functioning as a tribe. So you go ahead and do what you do. When y'all start disappearing, don't expect me to feel bad because they're going to start snatching your asses up first. Like, this is the type of stuff that only happens in a first world country. And the crappier the first world country, the worse it is because the more liberated and independent these people are. I understand that up north, up there in Canada, y'all super liberated. Y'all so liberated that when the government tells you not to go outside for 2 years, y'all actually do it. That's cute. Y'all are so liberated that you find an excuse for everything, but also nobody wants your land. Nobody wants your resources. Nobody wants to be up there because it's miserable. Outside of like 2 parts of the season for a month, basically. So there's no threat for you guys. You can be as liberated as you want because ain't nobody marching up there to take anything from you unless you can't get these forest fires under control because you might need to get some freedom from America. I'm just saying. But I digress, you know.
You know what, Ray? Here's my thing. I think in the beginning of the relationship, if I'm not mistaken, the story goes that Corey was the guy who was broke. He didn't have a car, that type of thing, and he really wanted to date her. You know what I mean? And word on the street that she really didn't like him or whatever, but I guess they kind of grew to love each other. And I think what happens is sometimes in life we look at marriage as the capstone. You know what I mean? I've got my car, I've got my home, I've got my degree, you know, I've got kids, and now all I have to do is just add the marriage, and then bam, it's on top. Well, that's not how we used to build marriages. You know what I mean? Just to give you an example, I'm going to bring up an example of how we used to do it. So if anybody hadn't seen it, you know what I mean? I'm going to show you exactly how we used to do it. I'm going to go ahead and share this. This is what it looks like to have marriage as a cornerstone. If y'all don't know who this is the Carter family. And this picture was taken in Toronto in June of 1936. George Carter was a World War II veteran who used his veterans benefits to study law at the University of Toronto. It's amazing that you mentioned Canada. Right. But also later he went on to become Ontario's first Canadian provincial judge. This is the Honorable George E. Carter. Now look at this family. This man actually allowed his family to be his cornerstone. This is how we used to be. We got a dad, we got a mom, and we got a whole bunch of kids. You know what I mean? That's how we used to do it. Beautiful. You know what I mean? And a lot of times people like to think that this is so foreign, but if you look at it, everybody looks as if, you know, they're happy and they're healthy, you know, and well adjusted, because men and women see things from different perspectives, and you have to have that. And your kids need to be able to have that because they're going to be going into the world where they're going to be interacting with men and women. You know what I mean? You can't have a situation where you have a bunch of boys and all they have to do, you know, is interact with boys. You know, they need to understand girls, and girls can't be going into the world where all they know how to relate to is girls and don't know how to relate to boys. And I think that is the heart of the situation that we have. But whenever you have a mom and dad around, they can basically, you know, they can speak to both sides. You know what I mean? What do you think, Mom? Because they have to learn to work together. You can't build a family like this, you know, and not have, you know, a come together. You know what I mean? You got to think about it on terms where you can speak to each other, you know, with some common sense and some decency. Ray, what do you think about this particular situation?
I think that's what the original goal was. Can you replicate that now? Ugh. I don't know. Because you notice that like none of those kids have like Down syndrome or anything, right?
No,
I think
they look well adjusted to me.
Like I don't know that we eat enough organic foods to replicate that. Like that was before they were hardcore poison in society as a whole. I mean, one of the other things I noticed about this is you notice that there's no morbid obesity. Apparently, big bones didn't exist back then. I mean, look, the kids know how to hold still, including the baby in a picture. Like, ain't nobody tearing nothing up. There's no sagging pants. You know, there's a lot of things that culturally were way different back then. But I don't know that we can do that because society is completely different now. Like that society, that standard is dead. It doesn't exist. Like that's such an unrealistic expectation for people now because there's sacrifice involved, there's duty involved, there's loyalty involved, and we have none of those things. None of those things are set as a standard. It's about what's everybody else got, what's everybody else doing. And you know what they were worried about? What they were doing in their households. You know what they worried about? The lineage for those children.
Right.
Like it's just they don't. Those standards, those value sets don't exist. You don't see that outside of our culture anymore. Like we like to compare ourselves to white people so much. Like they ain't even doing that. They're not capable of doing that.
Right.
No one's doing that except for people that come here from other countries that are taking over our country that are going to because they have standards, they have morals, and they have values.
Right.
I mean, at a certain point, we got to look at it. We've literally come full circle, and we're babies as a country, but we're going through the terrible 20s. We're about 23 as a nation.
Right.
Everybody hates you. But one of the things that is funny that I find very humorous is we came over here to settle savages, right? To calm the savages, to put some order in this country. That's what the white people came over here and did. And then what did they do? They civilized it. They settled down the savages and then let this shit turn right back into savages again. Like that's where we are now. Look at what's going on in these third world cities. Savagery. Look at the lack of value where anything goes. Savagery. We're actually worse than the Native Americans because they at least had principles, and the way that they was navigating wasn't destroying the entire planet. The white people came over here, settled this country, lost control of it, and now we have devolved into a level of savagery that is participated across the board. That's worse than what they came over and conquered in regards to its effect on everyone else. We've created spoiled, entitled, dysgenic, sick, poisoned people that are weak. And they all get a vote. They all get a say. They all get an opinion that apparently, supposedly, allegedly matters. It's a terrible state of affairs that we're in. But like, I don't think you can get that out of this. I don't. Not in the long term. Because the other thing that we're trying to do is everybody's focusing on fixing adults. And the adults that don't understand, they're dead already. You guys
That's
are
why you have to focus on the kids, man.
100%. I'm like, we would have to make a dedicated effort at generations moving 5 years old and forward. Just like what the communists did with our school system. We need to replicate that and look out 30 years and just assume that everybody in between wherever we start and there either gets it or they're dead already, and we just let them die.
Miss Jenny, what's your thoughts on this photograph in this particular situation?
Addressing one of the comments that was just put out from Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of the American Dream, she said that the wife looks like she stayed barefoot and pregnant. And I don't know the connotation of how she's saying that, but I think that's great. You know, more women need to be pregnant. So many of us are pumped full of chemicals and birth control, and it's terrible. because this is the way it should be. This should be the ideal for the woman, to find a man who is respectable and high value, and to put out as many of his children as we can.
Right.
And so, and to respond to Ray, I think that you were saying that, like, people aren't doing this anymore, and that's causing, like, the destruction, and yeah, and Mr. He Said She Said that she follows some families like this on social media, and I know some families like this in my own personal life because I'm a fundamentalist, and so fundamental people, they're really into having lots of babies. So
Right.
um, so yeah, I know some families from churches that I've been to who have, a man who works and a wife who doesn't work, or she works part-time, and they have a barrel of children. And those are the families who are going to pave the next way. Those are the people who are going to cause the revolution, because they're homeschooling their kids, or their kids were in private Christian schools, and they're just going to outbreed the enemy. That's all they can do. And so yeah, I think that you're absolutely right that we have to start focusing on the younger generations, and not completely forget about the older people. But we're not fighting with anybody. I mean, that should be the attitude, that we're not going to twist anybody's arm. Is that if you can't get with it, then we're going to forget about you, and we're just going to focus on your kids. Okay. And so I think that's absolutely right. I think that when it comes to people who think like us and people who have our values, that we talk about having, how we need to have more duty and responsibility and stuff, but there's not a whole lot of people who are even on the right who want to have a big family like that. Like, oh, that seems like a lot of work or whatever. And it's like, we need to be willing to take the first steps in this way of living that we want to have. And so if I could have 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 kids, then that's what I want to do, because I want to lead by example. So I think that we need to be willing to want to lead by example as well.
I agree. My whole thing is this: we look at this as if this was something that we couldn't do. Well, apparently we were good at it. And as you can see, the father is at the center of the home. They're teaching, the mothers are teaching, the fathers are teaching. This is a loving environment. Who wouldn't want that for their children? You know what I mean? Look at
And
it.
they
They
have a
even got a
dog.
dog. Yeah.
I never
we
see
had
that.
everything. Yeah, we had a dog too, But here's my thing. I think the reason why we got off track is because we probably look at marriage from different perspectives before we get together. We never really have that conversation about, hey, do you look at marriage as something that, as a finish line, as a capstone? You go out and you get your career, and everything else, and then all of a sudden you get married. You think somebody's going to be waiting for you down the aisle when you get 40, 50 years old. You know what I'm saying? It's highly unlikely. People get to that age, they're probably not looking at having kids. They've already had some level of success. So, my money is my money and your money is my money too, depending upon who you ask. So that's just one of those things I wanted to share with you guys. Black David, I want you to share the video that we talked about earlier about the guys who talking about making sure you pick the right woman, and go ahead and blow that up so everybody can see it, because this is very, very important.
Point now, I've asked 3 billionaires and 6 people who are worth 100 million and up, what's your number one piece of financial advice? Every single one of them, their top piece of financial advice was, be careful who you marry. Not because the person you marry as a man could theoretically take half of your assets if you get divorced, but because the person that you marry is ultimately the person that you're going to be building an empire with. This is the person that will motivate you when you're down on your lowest days, or they could be tearing you down on your best days. So I thought it was really interesting that wealthiest people that I've had conversations with, they all agreed that your number one cornerstone as a man trying to build wealth is ultimately going to be your partner. It makes sense. At this point now.
So, Jenny, what do you think about that? Is a man's decision on wife critical?
Absolutely so. Yeah, with like what he was saying, how it's people always think like, oh, be careful who you marry because she might run off with half your stuff. But that's not even the main thing. Because I mean, that's coming from a lack mindset, that she's gonna run off with half my stuff. But even if y'all stay married, that, you know, you want someone who is going to be your I hate to use the term partner. I feel like that just sounds so androgynous. But you want someone who's going to be your teammate and someone who's going to be your helpmeet. You know, let's say you want to be really successful. The woman that you marry, she might hold you back. Like when something that really comes to mind is that movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, with Will Smith, and how, you know, he was trying to build himself and he was trying to better himself, and his wife was like, "You can't do it. You're an idiot. You're never going to be anything." And then she leaves him. And it's like, you know, I mean, he's a successful guy now. Of course, you know, I doubt that he could have even gotten any higher with her around, but, you know, maybe he could have gotten there faster. Maybe he wouldn't have to spend the night in a public bathroom had she not, you know, left him. So it's like, you know, who you're with, it's not necessarily that they're gonna leave you, because leaving you is not even necessarily the worst thing that they could do. They could just hold you back and stifle your potential. So I completely agree.
Thank you. So, Ray, what do you think on this particular situation?
I'm in 100% agreement. It's not necessarily like the half your shit argument is one piece of it. Like, sure, we can talk about that. But I actually had a very interesting conversation over lunch after the gym on Saturday with a man who left his wife after 20 years of marriage because she was consistently holding him back. Like, they made it to a certain level where they were comfortable, but he was like, "I can do more." And she was like, "No, I don't want to do. We're good here. Let's stop here." And he tried because had a family, loved this woman, but he couldn't. He was miserable. Like, it literally, like, you like clipped a bird's wings and that knew it could fly, and you're like, well, you can only go this high, and I'm going to tie a string around your leg, and this is as high as you can go. You know you can get higher than this, and you want to get higher than this, but I'm going to keep you here. Like, that's why it's 100%. The person you choose, you got to make sure that they want to go where you want to go, that y'all in the same realm. Because not everybody's meant to win. Not everybody can deal with what it takes to have the lifestyle that some of us want. They can't deal with that. And I've come to that realization. A lot of people, I'll say people, but specifically women, sign up for jobs they don't qualify for. And it's sad because they can love you to death, but they don't qualify to be your wife. And they're not trying to qualify. They're going, I just want to be here and we'll work that out after the fact. That's women's play, is manipulation. I'm going to get in here and then, like the stuff that we don't agree on, I'm just going to win them over about it. Like I understand that you say you're going to be on the road, that you're going to travel, that you're going to do this, that, and the other. But I'm going to make you not do that. I'm going to figure out a way to make you stay your ass at home. Like, go marry the average blue collar guy that makes a decent wage that just wants to come home and have a beer. Then you can have that. He just ain't going to be no reckless Ray. That's fine for you. That's not fine for me, but that's fine for you because that's what you actually qualify for. You don't deserve a reckless Ray De Niro if you're not understanding that, like, there's stuff that comes along with what we building over here. That's part of getting on the program. That's part of signing up for that job. And especially when it's made very forthcoming at the onset that this is what it is. And then when it starts becoming what it is, you're upset. You're wanting to hold them back. And it's an inherently selfish way to navigate through life. It's not something that's in my opinion functional, because it's like, why would you come in and try to stifle somebody else's progress to make yourself feel some type of way? Who does that? Like, that's not even a good person that does that, in my opinion. Like, if you know you can't go there, know where you can go. Find somebody who can get there, and y'all go there together. But I mean, I can only imagine how much innovation, how many life-changing things weren't discovered because women signed up for jobs they didn't qualify for and then broke those men. and kept them from getting to their full potential.
All right, let me ask you this. Here's my thing. We talked about this at the barbershop, and I made a point. I said men are taught how to treat women, but they're not taught what to expect from women. And I said women are taught what to expect from men, but they're not taught how to treat a man. So it's your job as a man, when you put your help wanted sign out, to know whether or not she can perform said needed duties, right? You're the man, right? And you're doing the hiring. So it's up to the men to make sure that they choose a proper wife. Now, here's the thing. There's no guarantee that you're going to find somebody who's going to fit the bill perfectly. But 9 times out of 10, if you find somebody who's willing, I think I think that goes a long way. What do you think, Jenny? Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely true. That, I feel like it's regardless of whatever it is. Because there are a lot of women who don't want a man who's going to be gone all the time, or who's going to have to work late nights, or get up early, or do a lot of traveling, or different types of things. A job is very demanding, even though that is the kind of job that will have a lot of yield. And so there's nothing wrong with not wanting a husband to do that, but you can't try to marry someone or try to take someone who wants those things and force him into that box. Just like how there are a lot of men who want a woman who is going to work and want a woman who's going to continue her career and continue to contribute financially to the home. There are those men, but don't marry a woman who wants to be a stay-at-home mom and try to force her to be a boss babe. That's not fair. Just find people who are meant for you. And so I just don't think it does anybody a deed, or it's a disservice to everybody. And another quote, because I like what you said, that men are taught how to treat but not what to expect, and women are vice versa. Another one like that is that and there it goes. I don't remember it anymore.
It happens to the best of us. We call it having a senior moment.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, but yeah. And so I guess saying all that to say that, I remember it now, which is that men marry women hoping that they don't change, and women marry men hoping that they do change. And so, and that's just not fair. You shouldn't do that. Like if your husband, if he wants to be a musician and he wants to travel the world and he wants to, go to different places, and you want him to stay at home, then find somebody who's going to stay at home. And if you want a man who is really ambitious and is just going to, tackle his career, and he's a hustler, and you meet a guy and he's not that, and he's comfortable, making his 40,000 or 50,000, then don't try to make him something that he's not. That's just not right. I feel like a lot of people do this, especially when it comes to kids. One wants kids, one doesn't. One wants a lot, one wants a couple, and they go into it thinking that, oh, they're going to see my perspective eventually, and then they don't. They just keep clashing. And so, and I know that, like that was a big thing for me. Like when we were just talking about the big families, like that's a really big thing for me. I've always wanted a lot of kids. I've known for a long time that I want to have a big family. And so I would meet guys, or I would date guys, and that would be something I would talk about pretty early on. And a lot of them would be like, oh no, not a whole bunch of kids. That's really expensive. And I knew from that point, okay, this is not the guy for me. I'm not going to try to twist his arm into, having a farm full of children. That's just not what we're going to do. So God bless you, but you're not going to be my husband. And so when I met my husband, I told him, and he was like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I think I like the idea of having a bunch of kids. And 2.5 years later, we're happily married. So
that's what's up.
So yeah, it's just not fair. It's not right to try to twist somebody into a pretzel to be what you want. Because then, then you'll probably just end up being alone and divorced, and now you're back out in the dating pool with with Tia Mowry.
Exactly. Here's my thing. I think guys need to latch on to older men to figure out, what does it take to be a husband and a father. It seems as if we have a problem with doing, either or. Either we're a great dad or a lousy husband, or we're a lousy husband and a great dad, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And I can't for the life of me try to figure out exactly why people, don't want to do both. It seems like they want to make it hard. Some women are good mothers, but lousy wives. You know what I mean? It's real hard to find a wife that's not a good mom, but they have some. We watch the Kurt Franklin saga play out, with his mom, trying to figure out who his dad is, and she already knew, they want to tell him. So, we have instances on both sides where we have people who are not ideal. But my thing is this: if we reach back to those who've done it before, then we can learn a little something about what's going on. And I think a lot of times pride sets in, and the younger generation say the old people don't know what they're talking about. Y'all, I've been around for a while, and we used to say the same thing about the generation before us. And guess what? The generation before them said that they didn't know what they were talking about. So when this new generation says, and I'm like, it's about their time. You know what I mean? And eventually they'll get old too. My dad told me a long time ago, he said, keep living, you're going to get old someday. And I believe him. I believe him. So Ray, let me ask you this, man. What responsibility does a husband play, a man play in making sure that he chooses the right woman? What are some of the things that he can do to ensure that he finds a woman that suits his needs and suits the family needs, if that's something that he desires?
Actually, vet beyond a set of appendages.
I agree.
Yeah, basically that. Most dudes that are married, young and old, they won the luck of the draw. Honestly, there was a set of appendages that were presented before them, and he went to go smash on those appendages, and she didn't move, so he got what he got, and then he just decided to keep it. And then he married it, and then he hoped that this was also a good mother, had a solid head on her shoulders, and whatever else comes with that. Because I'm not married, so I can't speak 100% to it. But I do know that a lot of people, especially men, are looking at a set of appendages, and then they're hoping that those don't change. But that's really what it is. It's like, obviously, looks get you in the door, but like there has to be, like, these dudes are out here just going, oh, I just want to be with this hollow, vapious, barely human thing that looks nice, that has the appendages and the build that I want, the features. And then after the fact, they try to piece it together to see if this is going to be a wife. And a lot of times they're not finding wives.
In this situation, when they're looking to find a woman, it's just like they're finding somebody to say, hey, look, I have a lifestyle. Come join me. And then they come join them. And that's basically what happens. Well, Ms. Jenny, let me ask you this. In the exact opposite with women, you know what I mean? What does that look like? When a man, looks at a woman and says, hey, would you like to be my wife? And the woman says, let me think about it for a minute. Because she has a set of rules in place that says, hey, look, if you're going to be my husband, here's some things I expect. What can a woman teach a man to expect from a wife in situations like that men need to learn how to expect from women? What advice would you give a man that says, hey, look, if you're looking for a wife, this is what you need to find?
Okay. Yeah. I think that some things as a man that you want to look for, I don't know. I feel like it's easier to acknowledge the things that you should not be looking for, like things that are red flags that you should avoid. Right. So I would definitely say, like, a woman who is very vain, that's an immediate red flag. Because I think that goes part and parcel with that self-love thing that we were talking about a minute ago. Right. And how, like, she sees herself as like really beautiful, or she sees herself as like, prissy and high maintenance. And if she thinks that that's cute, like being high maintenance and being, oh, can you handle me? And, I don't take any mess from anybody. If she thinks that those are cute qualities, she thinks that those are funny, that's a red flag, because that means that she's kind of self-absorbed and vapid. And, and I think that plays a lot with, how much she'll, put on her face, like, she'll put her own makeup on her face like a drag queen. And she, obviously spends a lot of time thinking about herself, thinking about her appearance. There's probably not a lot going on upstairs. I'd probably say that, something like that. How does she talk to the men in her life? How does she talk to her dad? How does she talk to her brothers? her male friends? Does she respect any man in her life? Because if not, then what makes you think that you're
Great
going to be any
point.
different? Um, let's see. Last night when I was on, a guy was saying that women don't know how to cook, and I wouldn't say that a woman not knowing how to cook is an immediate red flag, because that can be learned. Those are skills. But when it comes to like her personality, like, is she selfish? Is she caring? Is she obnoxious? Is she loud? That's another thing. Like, are these loud, women who talk too much and don't know how to mind their own business? Like, that's another red flag. So I would say things like that.
That's a good point. Sometimes the small things are the things that we leave out. You know what I mean? The simple things like, how was your day today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or something simple as, hey, do you need anything? To me, that is somebody who's willing to help in a relationship, somebody who actually cares about you, somebody who, to tell you the truth, is locked into the well-being of your husband. A real woman, say for instance, if her husband is sick, she's going to drag him to the hospital because she knows her future is tied into him. Am I not right? You know what I'm saying? You'll be like, hey, you got to go to the doctor, man. I heard you wheezing in the night. You know what I mean? It's like you couldn't breathe. We're gonna take you to the doctor, because she has a vested interest in that. You know what I mean? So if a woman who really doesn't have a vested interest in you, she's updating the insurance policy and hoping to bid you a good day, sir. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But seriously, those are some of the small things I think we as men miss. Situations like that. David, I want you to play the video that we talked about that was supposed to be next. It leads right into our topic that we're talking about now. About what to look for.
Accountability is needed for personal growth. And when you are resisting accountability, can't nobody ask you questions. I can't ask you why. If I ask you why, oh my God, you think I'm the worst person in the world. You think I'm rebellious because I'm asking why or how come. What did you mean when you said? So what it does when you are someone that resists, what this does, it hinders openness in the relationship. It restricts it. It chokes it. It destroys the necessary conversations that we need to have in order to help us grow individually or together in the kingdom.
Thank you, Black David. Jenny, since you said it last, I'm going to ask your opinion. Does avoiding accountability choke out the relationship?
Absolutely, I would say so. That if you can't acknowledge when you're wrong, when you mess up, then your marriage is over before it ever begins. Because that's a big part of marriage, is acknowledging, like, hey, I messed up, or even if you don't realize it, if your partner says, if your spouse says, hey, what did you mean by that, or why did you say that, or what you said, like, I didn't think that was cool. And then, instead of not, if you're not able to take accountability, then you get defensive or deflect, and that's not conducive to a strong relationship. So you need to be able to say, hey, I didn't mean it like that. I apologize. Please check me again if I say something that upsets you, or is out of line. It's a part of, it shows maturity. It shows seriousness. So those are important qualities when it comes to being married. And so, if you can't accept when you're wrong, then that's a really big problem, because you're gonna be wrong. So it's not a matter of if, but when, and how you can move forward from that and grow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ray?
Man. Even, and this is something that I've experienced. Even if you are accountable, that's cute for a little while. But if you keep repeating the same action that you're being accountable for, then are you being accountable? Like, I don't know. Like, you can apologize. It's like if a dude's cheating on you and you catch him. He's like, I'm sorry. You the one, baby. I just slipped and fell into it. She meant nothing, which actually could be true because, like, you can slip and fall into. I mean, ladies, I know you're not gonna believe it. You can slip and fall into some coochie. I'm saying it happens. It happens.
You can't do that, man. You can't.
You can slip and fall into it. It happens. The floor got soap and water on it, and the way your checking and savings are not lined up right, and if it's Mercury's in retrograde, you know what I'm saying? The energies be off, and then you slip and fall. Next thing you know, poop, pow, shebang, clapping sounds, and what happened? I don't know. But if you catch him and he's like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm sorry, I'm being accountable. And then he keeps doing it. Is he being accountable or is he actually in fact sorry?
I don't think he's sorry.
Not. Probably not. So like there's this whole movement, and like I love talking about accountability. I'm an advocate for accountability, but there's a whole movement of like, ooh, I'm sorry. And then you keep replicating what you're sorry for. If you're constantly finding yourself apologizing for the same thing, or better yet, ladies, the same thing in different ways. The same thing in different ways. You're not apologizing. Like you're not actually being accountable. You're just going, hey, I did this thing that you don't like, and I'm gonna keep doing it in perpetuity. Please don't leave. Make it make sense. Like that's insane. It's insane. It makes both you and the person you doing it to crazy. Y'all both crazy together. And like some people are not going to engage in the foolery beyond a certain point.
You know what I think happens, right? I think there's an unspoken conversation that's being had when situations like that happen. You know, here's my thing, man. If you're gonna cheat, man, at least let her know in advance. You know, be a man about that. You know what I mean? And my thing is to give her an opportunity to have the conversation first before you unilaterally decide, hey, I'm gonna do my thing. Because when you got married, there's a piece in the vows, if I'm not mistaken, Miss Jenny, where it says, forsaking all others. Am I not right? Is that down off in there somewhere? Say you can't be out here gallivanting and trolloping across the globe. I think that's in there. You know what I mean? And it's kind of hard for somebody to take you seriously if you're not being open and transparent in the relationship. You know, if you have a need in your relationship, you should be comfortable enough to say, hey, look, this is what's going on. Now, if you're not comfortable enough in your relationship, then I think you're avoiding a deeper conversation that needs to be had. You know what I mean? On both sides. That's what I'm looking at. So I think that is a major problem when we get in relationships. We don't take the time out to have the hard conversation. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we set the atmosphere to have the conversation. And I think that's a problem that we have. Black David, I want you to play the next video that we have so they can see exactly what we're talking about.
As a husband and as a wife, you guys married each other for better or for worse. And your relationship is the cornerstone, the keystone of your family. So make sure that you guys are always investing in that relationship by going on Friday night date nights. Get the babysitter, go strengthen that relationship, continue to invest in that relationship, court each other, and you will see as the relationship between husband and wife is strengthened, you end up being better parents. You end up being better in your career. You continue to want to work on and focus on your health and your physique. So continue to invest in that relationship. Keep it alive every Friday night. And if you want to join us at the Stockyard Rodeo, put on your cowboy boots. Meet us in Fort Worth. Let's go.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Make sure you date your spouse, man. Don't stop that. I can't tell you how many times, man, I've seen people, man, stop dating their spouse because they got bills. Well, guess what? You had them bills when you was dating. You know what I mean? You shouldn't take your spouse for granted because you got a little bit of bills sitting. Them bills gonna be here. You know, they gonna be here for a minute. So you should look past that and still court your woman. And women should still, you know, date their husband. You know what I mean? Make him feel special. Man, let me tell you something. If you pour a little bit of gratitude into a man, I can't tell you what's gonna come out of that. Because there's something inside of a man that wants to go that extra mile for the woman who believes in him. Miss Jenna, am I not correct? Do you not believe that you should continue to date each other even after you're married?
Absolutely. And it's good that you mentioned how people will use that excuse, because that's what it
Right.
is. It's an excuse that, oh, we have bills, money's tight, the economy's bad, X, Y, and Z, as for reasons why they stopped dating their spouse. And where there's a will, there's a way. If you really wanted to, you could find a way, because there are a lot of poor people who are dating. And
Correct.
so if there are poor people who are dating, then you as a married couple can figure out how to still date each other. And so dates don't have to cost money. You can move out your furniture in the living room and put out an air mattress if you have one, or just lay out some blankets and have a little movie sleepover party in the living room. You could, maybe like however you might buy your groceries, once a week or every other week or however. Then, 1 week instead of buying your normal stuff, you buy something extra fancy or that, your spouse really likes, and do a little, fancy dinner where you put out the good plates and you have some sparkling cider or some wine if you drink alcohol. And and that is not necessarily expensive because you're using that same money that you would have used to buy your spaghetti and meatballs, but you're using it instead to, maybe buy some pork loin and asparagus or whatever.
Right.
And so yeah, it's just little things. Even just going on a walk, like just going on a little afternoon walk and going on a drive, maybe that'd be nice, especially now that it's time for the holidays. You could drive around and look at lights in different neighborhoods. There are so many things that you could do that are inexpensive or even free if you cared to go out of your way to impress your spouse still.
Right. The purpose of doing all that is to build the bond. It really doesn't matter exactly what you're doing. I had a friend of mine, she's dating a gentleman, and his birthday is coming up, and she wanted to get dressed up and take him out and all this other stuff. I said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to get a blank card, and I want you to tell him how you really feel about him. And when you're done, make sure you spray some of that perfume on there. So when he puts the card up on his counter when he get home, he gets a little bit of you every time he walks by there. So he's thinking about you. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. That doesn't cost a whole lot. You see what I'm saying? It's thoughtful and it's heartfelt, and it's those little small things that make a difference. You see what I'm saying? And my thing is this: you can budget for your date. Put that in your budget. Date night. $20 here, $30 there, $40 there, whatever. And then when it comes time for you guys to date each other, if it's not once a week, every other week, you can save up. You know what I mean? And then you can go out and you can do whatever it is you want to do and be creative. But I think a lot of times people get lazy in love when you really should be taking care of each other, because remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. You know what I mean? If you really take care of each other, you're gonna make it a long time, and you're gonna grow into each other. You see what I'm saying? Your thoughts will become her thoughts, and you'll start to see things from her advantage, and she'll start to see things from his advantage. Right? What do you think about that particular situation? Do you think that a couple should continue to date each other even after they're married?
How you start is how you finish. If you gonna do some excessive shit to get a chick with you, you better expect that to be the standard, because you did it. Like, things haven't changed, you've changed, sir or ma'am. Like, if you doing some freaky gymnastics to get this, guess what? You better keep stretching, because you did it. Like, don't play games, people. Like if you're not about that action, don't be about that action and think you just gonna have to do it for a year. Like it's what it is, because you're setting a pattern, you're setting a standard. So I don't think that anybody should be doing over the top dating, period. Like, why? Unless that's just what you do.
Right.
Like, if that's not what you do, then why are you doing it in the first place? Like, why are you showing out if it's not something that you can sustain? Now, obviously, as times change, we're going into a state now to where, like, y'all should start researching free and low expense dates, because you are not about to have the spending capabilities that you used to. The money's drying up. Like, it's just what it is. But you should be creative. You should try. Those of you who are in a position, There are people out there though that just don't want to be happy. There's people out there who will sabotage. You're trying to do what they're asking you to do, and they are just well and set on not accepting it. And you've got to remove yourself from those people. There's people who are like, we don't go on dates. You set up really extravagant dates. They'll make an argument so that they can blow that up, so that way they don't have to go, so that they can say that we never go on dates. Be like, yeah, every time I plan out a date or plan out a thing, you start an argument so we don't have to go, so that you can keep telling yourself this story that's not true because you don't want it to get better. These are, again, what did you sign up for? What did you sign up for? If it's to that point to where you're just perpetuating a narrative, just leave. Remove yourself. You don't want things to get better. And whichever party this applies to, once you see that things have no intent of getting better, end it. Leave. Like at this point, the world's falling apart. We ain't got enough time on this planet to be living miserable lives just to say we did something because we were told by people that that's what we're supposed to do. Nowhere in the Bible does it say sign up for a miserable existence and just go ahead and have your hell here on earth. It doesn't say that. There's a set of instructions for both parties. If you can't follow the set of instructions, then don't get married. If you're not going to consistently follow the set of instructions, then I just don't know what the actual expectation is for us as men at this point, because like we're told that we're supposed to get married. The women are awful. We're told that we're supposed to be better men. The women are not better. The women are gaining weight every year. They're getting worse every year. But we're supposed to still just go out there and just pick these beluga whales up, throw them in our backpack that's already freaking heavy, and carry these bitches to wherever the fuck they want to go. Like, what is the expectation for us as men? At what point do we go, you know what? We just gonna let the beluga whales die, and we'll wait till anything else comes along. We'll go find some women in another country and bring them back and make some new Americans that aren't dysgenic. How about that? What is the expectation for us to do to remedy any of this? If you want better men, our motivator is women. If the women are terrible and the women are awful also, then how are we supposed to navigate this to get to a point to where there's somebody out there that we want to marry? Where are the wives? Where are the wives? Because I'm pretty sure taking care of yourself is a part of that edict. You don't just get to go accept me as I am, because you're not accepting the men as they are. You want the winners. You want a certain standard of life. You want a certain quality of man. We have to build that. Why are we expected to build everything? And then also, because if you bring that picture back up, that woman had all them kids and was still in good shape. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? She did her job. That man was motivated. He probably couldn't keep his hands off her. That's where all them kids came from.
Apparently, he couldn't keep his hands off of her. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Next thing you know, in the middle of the night, you hear, oh, yeah.
Right? Just roll over wrong and catch the wind. Just be like, guess what? Another baby's about to happen. Baby. They didn't have cars. They didn't have cars that went in reverse. That man couldn't pull out a shit. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, but those were the. If you had a bunch of those women running around, it's not a wonder that the marriage rate is what it was, because they were shapely, they were in shape, they looked good, they looked healthy. They weren't on every single mental drug on the planet. They didn't have a medical cabinet full of drugs in their house, running around just crazy as hell. And guess what? They also had better men, more competitive men, more masculine men. If we all running around looking like the same damn marshmallow, we all look like the male lady right now. Y'all all running around looking like the male lady. What incentive is there for men to go, oh, I got to get in shape? Like, we look the same. You got titties. I got titties. We all got titties in this house. Like, there's no incentive for men to do better. because the prizes are garbage. Like,
Hilarious. You know what? Here's my thing, man. I think as men, we need to exercise a little wisdom. You know what I mean? Think about it. What was the first job that God gave Adam? He made him a gardener, right? Right?
yeah.
So, in order for you to be a gardener, you got to pretty much know exactly how to make stuff grow. You see what I'm saying? You got to know how to tend to it. Sometimes you got to pull weeds out. Sometimes you got to prune stuff. Sometimes you got to turn the soil over. You know what I mean? You got to get your hands dirty, you know? And if you got a job and you know what you're supposed to do, and he's sending you a helper, you know, you should be like, okay, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm turning the soil over. You know, I'm, you know, doing this. Could you get a basket, you know, and put this stuff in the basket for him while I turn the soil over? You know, when I prune this, you know, that type of thing. He was busy. I don't think men are busy enough. You know what I mean? Because they don't have this thing. Women have a tendency to want to help. It's in them. That's what they want to do. They want to, no matter what job it is, they want to be adored. That is the portion of women that wants to be adored. Think about it. Most women want their husband to look at them and say, you know what, baby? You sure look good tonight. You know what I'm saying? They do. They want to be. Because if you think about it, look at what's the name? Basketball player's wife, Steph Curry's wife. You know, she got out there and she said, I just want people to look at me like those women look at my husband. You know what I mean? She wants to be appreciated because he's out all the time. You know, true enough, they got kids or whatever, but she still wants to be admired. Now, imagine if that came from her husband. You see what I'm saying? On a more regular basis. And I think they would probably satisfy that satiation for wanting to be seen. And I think that's probably what happened with Tia in her particular situation. I don't know if you're honest, but Tia put on a little bit of weight. And I think it kind of messed with her, you know, her insecurities a little bit. And what happened was, I guess she felt like her husband was kind of holding her back. So she needed to go out there and lose some weight or whatever. She looked nice. But the problem with that is that you're supposed to look nice for yourself, you know, because you want to make sure that you're in good health, right? And you also want to look good for your husband, right? That's the main portion. Your marriage, like the gentleman said in the video before, is the most important thing because it helps you be a better spouse, you know, a better coworker, you know, and a better father and a better mother. So I think that you should want to lean into taking care of each other because that is the most important thing. You know, think about it. When those kids get grown and leave the house, it's just going to be you and them. But if you poured all your energy into the kids and you neglected your spouse, then usually you'll see people around by 40, 50, yep, the kids gone, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? You get situations like that. So the most important relationship is your marriage between your spouse. You know, check on them, make sure they're all right. You know, like David, run that on that video I was telling you about what happened to the old lady and her husband. I think y'all can get a kick out of this.
Who was your greatest love, and why did you fall in love with him?
My husband, John. He came to my first wedding. Then, 10 years later, he came to my second wedding as the groom. The first husband was disaster. He found an airline stewardess that he liked better when he would travel back and forth before I came to Pittsburgh. But all's well that ends well.
Okay.
So here I am back in Pittsburgh. I went on interviews and I was interviewed by the love of my life, John Williams.
What was your first impression of John?
Oh, I thought he was boring. Absolutely boring. His personality and my personality so different. We married in 79, but he claims that I asked him to marry me. Who knows? Maybe I did. I wasn't desperate.
What is it like when you two are together?
It's calm. The man is almost too good.
What's your name?
Jerry.
Jerry Hunter.
Y'all heard Jerry. Jared said the man was almost too good. It was calm. You know what I'm saying, Miss Jenny? What do you think about that video?
I don't know if I've been hanging out with Ray a little bit too much, but the first
Ray
thing
rubbing
that comes
off on
to
you.
mind is that, you know, John was the guy that that she told her first husband not to worry about, because he was at the first wedding and he was plotting on her ever since. And 10 years later, you know, now he's getting his turn with her. So I don't know. That just came to mind. I thought, like, wow, you know, like, that's interesting. And I mean, we don't know what type of woman she is, you know, what part she might have played in the destruction of her first marriage, but you know, obviously she must have matured because she's been married for like 50 years. But
Right.
I think that's cute overall. You know, it's nice that um, she eventually found someone who was wonderful and very sweet, and that they're growing together and that they have this beautiful life together. So, you know, I think that a lot of people, they see that little, you know, 90-second clip and they're like, oh man, I want that. I want to be loved. I want a man who's calm. I want a man who's too good. But I mean, even though he's great, you know, like she said, I'm sure they had a lot of struggles, and she had to do a lot of sacrificing and a lot of, you know, putting him first and all that stuff. And it's like, you know, these 50-year marriages that are beautiful, you don't just pull them out of a hat. You know, it
Right.
takes a lot of work. And so people, they see the end result and they want that, but they don't want what really it takes to get to that. And that's why a lot of them fail.
Right. If you paid attention, she said her first husband fell in love with a stewardess and she couldn't
Yeah,
take it, you know, and he was
yeah, I
out,
did
you know
hear.
what I mean?
But
So he
I
pretty
think
much threw his wife away, you know.
yeah, but I think that when it comes to cheating for a man, that, you know, there are some things that, you know, I feel like cheating can be preventable, or maybe the chances of it can be mitigated by the other person.
Right.
Maybe she wasn't making herself sexually available to him as much as she should have been.
Right.
Um, and so that made his eye wander. I mean, I'm not saying it's her fault, but I'm just saying that as an adult, you know, you should be able to understand, like, okay, this was a breakdown in my marriage. I should have made myself more sexually available. I'm gonna do better for you, so I don't want you to run off with a stewardess or what have you. So there could have been things that she could have done in her first marriage to prevent that from happening. But you know, who's to say? I guess.
I agree. I agree. You should have those conversations like we talked about earlier. Ray, what do you think about the little old lady, Miss Jerry? What do you think about her?
John's a beta.
John was a beta.
John is a fucking beta. Like I hate y'all so much.
Sticking around. He's a beta orbiter.
God, bro. Like when I hear stories like this, I just want to set the world on fire, bro. I mean, bro, 10 years, John wasn't having his second wedding. This dude just sat there in Pittsburgh waiting to smell this woman's socks till she got back for a decade. John, good God. See, and you know, these are the men who didn't know the game. They didn't know the internet. They were like, yo, she married Chad Thunderclap, and Chad thunderclapped, and he kept clapping. And then she got upset and left him because she just couldn't deal with the clapping no more. And old John still sitting over here with his junk in hand and the socks she left him, waiting till she got back. And then they probably had boring vanilla sex, and she didn't do none of the stuff that she did for the nasty flight dude that left her for the flight attendant. And, you know, he just settled with that and thought he had a good life, bro. And he got a worse deal than the first guy. Like, and I don't know if it's just the oppositional defiant tendencies that I have. I don't like feeling like I'm getting fucked on a deal, period. Like, I'd rather not have it. I'd honestly rather not. Which means that, like, if you come in me and you dated the old salesman, bro, you better do every nasty. You're gonna have to come up with some new nasty shit to do with me. Like, I'm not marrying you and getting worse service than the dude who cheated on you with the flight attendant and left.
That
not
is hilarious.
happening.
You better tell.
Not
Hey, you better tell him, Ray.
I want me some glory hole.
Yeah, like for real though. Like I'm just like, I don't. And like you hear these stories, and like I guess back in the day that there was, but the issue is there were so few options. He might have been related to everybody else. So old John might have just had lack of options, and he just didn't go travel the world. And so he had to wait until the one person he knew he wasn't related to came back. Like, that's fine. I understand. They didn't have the internet. There was no Tinder. There was no Bumble. There was no Facebook dating. There was no anything. None of the good stuff. They didn't have the access that we have now.
Do we really have access? We
What?
got more single people, in the
We
world. Do we really have that much access?
Depends on access to what.
Access to what? That's what I was about to ask you.
I mean, what you want, man. Yes, we do. It just
according
depends.
to some, it's a lot of.
We'll put it this way. We'll put it this way, Lost in Translation. I do.
So you do. Saying nothing that would stop you, huh, Ray?
No, dude. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it might take a little bit, but like the game is game, bro. Like, it's gonna happen. But what I'm saying is that to know that you're getting screwed on something as a man, that'd be like, it's like these dudes who date these OnlyFans chicks. I'm like, it works out for a while, but what happens? Every other man is like, yo, I done seen your girl getting bust down. Yo, if I wanted to, I can get on here and get the premium access and bust this chick down. Yo, is this your girl? Yo, and they're shamed. They're just shamed into where like it doesn't even work out. Like, even though you got this baddie that you said you wanted, everything else that comes with it is shameful. And at the end of the day, you know you're getting a worse deal. So what happens? They end up removing themselves from them. They divest themselves from them. Those relationships do not result in marriages that work for over 2 years. Like, you're checking off boxes to say, I had that. Let me put my stamp on it. But the reality of the situation is you can't keep this woman in your house. Now, it goes the same if you know that you were not chosen. You're like, oh, I'm just happy to be here. That's cool. But like the rest of your life, you're going to know that you were second, third, fourth, fifth option. You were behind a dog, a horse, and a couple of other random animals that got up in there before you. Like, okay, cool. Live your life, bro. But like, for a fact that like, if so old John probably didn't know because he didn't have the internet. He didn't get to see her living her best life. But that's to his benefit because he got to live a good existence and it worked out. Unfortunately, now we know everything. That's the majority of the problem. We know everything, and these chicks are out here public. They're publicizing everything. If you're dealing with a chick and you see on her social media that every guy she dated was the best guy ever, bro. This woman does not know how to be with a guy outside of promoting that this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Well, if every guy that you date is the best thing that's ever happened to you, every dick that you come across is the best dick. Come on now. Come on now. Like, you can see who these people are. That's the reason I'm saying, I'm like, dude, like when you're talking about trying to figure out how to get people to put 2 and 2 together to get married, it's borderline impossible at this point because we live in a era where the debauchery and the things that are most disgusting that men find most revolting that women do is liberated. That's their liberation, and we're supposed to just take it and accept it and work hard for them. No, we're going to let you die. That's what we're going to do. Like, we're gonna take you.
We're gonna let them die. Hold on.
Oh yes. We're gonna take you in. We're gonna do what we gotta do with you, and we're gonna put you back out there in the streets where you belong. And when you're like, why did you do me like this? Be like, why'd you let the last 9 motherfuckers do you like this? Facts. Why do you expect me to navigate differently than the last 9 guys to get a worse deal? Like, you want to be a receptacle, boo? You a receptacle.
You know what? I'm glad you said that because I think a lot of times, man, people don't take ownership of their own situation. You don't have to choose those women. Let me tell you, I saw a Facebook post the other day, and the post Ms. Jen, I want you to listen to this. This is a woman who wrote this post. She said, "Why do men hold on to women they don't want?" Can you answer that? Why do men hold on to women they don't want?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
And sadly, I've actually seen this happen. I've seen this play out in real time in my own life. A friend of mine, like a good friend of mine growing up, her mom had like this live-in boyfriend, and they were together for pretty much the entire time that I knew her. You know, growing up, we started becoming friends like really early on, and like just out of the blue, it seemed, to me, one day they broke up and he moved out, and then like, because they were together probably like 10 years or 10, 11 years or something, all throughout like elementary school and middle school.
Right.
And then like 2 years later, he meets this woman and they get married. And I'm like, who is she? Where did this come from? And my friend's mom was devastated. And she was like, she didn't understand. And that my friend and I, we were looking around like confused too, like what in the world? And I guess now that I'm an adult and I see that he just never took her seriously. And she allowed him to not take her seriously. And so, I guess pretty early on in their relationship, he saw her and saw some things that he didn't like and saw some tendencies or what have you. And he said, this is not going to be my wife. She has a nice place. Her kids aren't bad. Whatever we're doing together is satisfying my needs. And so I'm comfortable here. I'll camp out here for the foreseeable future. And if something better comes along, then I'll migrate. And that's exactly what he did. And so it's tragic, to see it happen to someone that you care about. But I just think that we as women have to do better because, that was not cool what he did. If you know that you're not going to be with someone long term, you should leave. But as an adult, you have to take accountability to see where you possibly messed up in your own, in your own situations that happen in your own relationships.
Right.
And so, why men don't stay with women, or what was it? Why men don't?
The question is, why do men keep women that they don't want?
Yeah, so why they keep them, why they don't want them. Yeah, it's just that they see them. It's a very transactional, utilitarian relationship that they have, and he's like, I'm getting what I want from you, and you're not demanding anything more of me, and so I'm going to continue to do this, and we're going to continue to have this relationship. And then when you are no longer of service to me, when you are no longer of use to me, then I will dispose of you. And so that's why that is. Men are a lot easier to be complacent. They're a lot more comfortable, and they're not going to rock the boat if, my stomach's full and, my stuff is empty. So
that's right. The stuff is empty.
And so so that's why that's what I would say.
Right. Why do men hold on to women that they don't want?
Because they suck. That's why. That's the actual answer. It's because they're losers. They fucking suck. Like, if you're holding on, that means you don't have options. Think about that. You can't do better. You don't want to marry this, but like she lets you drain yourself into her. So like, that's better than my hand in this sock. Like, that's all it is. It's because they suck. Yeah, better than your hand in a sock, man. Like, they suck. They're losers. That's the only rational reason for that is that they suck. It's not that they're complacent. It's that they can't get what they believe that they deserve because they don't qualify for it. Therefore, they're just like, I'll just take this and sit here with this because she also has low self-esteem because realistically, if you got a dude that ain't trying to build with you for real. So
he ain't even trying to be a capstone or cornerstone.
Right. Now you both suck together. That's what y'all qualify for. Y'all qualify for each other. Technically speaking, y'all should go ahead and get married. Try to piece it together so you can get them tax write-offs and actually build something. But you don't. But neither one of you can afford to live by yourself. Neither one of you can stand to be by yourself because you're mentally weak. You're physically weak, most likely. You both built like refrigerators. You both look like the mail ladies. Y'all walking around in the mall. I don't know which one is the chick. You could be your own starting line, potentially. And you can't do better. So the dude can't do better. The chick is just happy someone's there because she's codependent and can't deal with being with herself. It's just two losers being losers. That's the only reason. Because like if you had the ability and you was getting it like that, then there's no way that you're going to be camped out on somebody's couch because you can't afford to sustain your own residence. I mean, at least you would be on a couch you wanted to be on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like if you had it like that, but you don't. You don't. Like there's nothing you're going to tell me that's going to make me believe that a dude who's just camping out at some chick's house and sustaining a relationship because he wants access to women, but he doesn't want that woman in any fashion other than the fashion that he's got her in, isn't a loser. That means you can't get what you want. So you're dealing with what you have. Boys deal with what they can get. Men get what they want. And to me, it's really that simple. And that's the way that I look at that. I'm like, I don't have respect for men who function like that. Like, I don't respect that. I'm like, look, if she ain't acting right and you're like, oh, well, she's terrible, but like, I'm dealing with it because I'm getting some. Like, no, there's other women. There's other women. You can replace that. Like, you could at least not have a terrible life.
Right.
Like, off the fact that, like, oh, this chick just gives me regular access to her body. Like, get out of here. You better have some. You better be pleasant. You better be pleasant. That's all I got to say about it.
You know what? Here's the question that I asked the ladies on that same post. The question was, why do men hold on to women that they don't want? And my question was, why do women stay where they're not wanted? Why? Why waste your time? You know nothing's going to come out of this. Nothing has come out of it. He hasn't given you any plans. He hasn't moved any mountains. He hasn't discussed any, future with you. So why would you stay where you're not wanted? And I think that pretty much shut the whole post down, because I think what we like to do is we like to put the responsibility of somebody else, for ourselves on someone else. You see what I'm saying? We can't do that. We have to take accountability for our own situation. A lot of people say, I stay for comfort. You can be comfortable in your own house. You don't have to be comfortable with somebody else's house. Think about it. When you staying with somebody who really don't want you, that's stopping you from being happy with somebody who would probably enjoy you and you would enjoy them, but you would never know. Is because you don't think that you could actually have that. And I think that plays back into a little low self-esteem. You know what I mean? That's one of those situations we have to take a look at and say, hey, look, I'm worth a little bit more than this. I'm valuable. I can bring certain things to the table. And I think women have gotten away from it. Jenny, I think you said on the podcast, you said that sometimes women don't feel like they're worthy sometimes. They don't feel like they could, add value sometimes. So they shy away from men. And I believe that, But my thing is this: how would you know if you don't have the tough conversations that you need to have? I don't think we have those. I think we've gotten so busy chasing the bag that we forget to build a life. That's the whole purpose of making a living, is to make a life. And I think we get them twisted. Once we get so busy working, then what's next? We just pass out and that's it. And you do it again. You start missing your kids' football games. You don't show up for your little girl's piano recital because you're busy. Those moments are important, in a child's life. Sometimes your wife may even have an event. Fellas, you need to make it a habit to support your woman, and vice versa. If ladies, if your man has something he's doing, you should support your man, because what that's going to do is going to bring two minds together. And like the gentleman said earlier, you get better, but, we like to, build marriage as a capstone instead of a cornerstone. Well, cornerstone relationships are the foundation. That's where people actually come together and they build something together. I don't think people understand the power of building something together with somebody. Not only will you get closer, you'll learn and appreciate somebody else's work ethic. It's nothing like, a wife watching her husband build a shed in the backyard, or or going out there and laying down fresh sod, and he's got sweat coming down his brow. He out there doing his thing, and she's standing back. I got a mighty man. Look at him. He's out there doing all type of hard yard work. Let me go ahead and fix him a nice cool glass of lemonade to let him know he's doing a good job. You know what I'm saying? And then when you come out there with that lemonade, you know what he's thinking in the back of his mind? Man, I have a fantastic wife. She saw me out here sweating, you know, putting up this shed, laying down the grass. And you know what? She thought enough of me to bring me a nice cool glass of lemonade. Man, I'm the luckiest man on the planet. And you know, it's those small things that we miss. It's not the big stuff. It's not going to the Beyonce concerts and the John Legend concerts and, you know, going out and doing this, that, and that. It's the little small things that add up, the appreciation. And I think sometimes we get busy and we wait later on in life, like Ebony K. Williams. She done turned over a new leaf. At first, she said, I wasn't going to date no bus driver. You know, so I want to date the owner of the bus driver. Next thing you know, a couple weeks later, I found me 2 vials of fantastic black sperm. I'm going to have me a baby on my own. And then a month later, she's on the internet saying, ladies, you should, you know, look for your husband when you're in college, getting your degree as well, because you got guys who's going to be making money like you're going to be making money. You're going to be equally yoked. I was like, wait a minute. Was that wisdom coming through? Was that the ghost of Kevin Samuels poking her in the back, going, you better tell him the truth? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wait a minute. Where did I hear this from? And you know what? She's right. You know, find your husband, you know, in college. Those guys are industrious. Ain't no Pookies and Ray Rays in college. These guys spent their mamas and daddies good money, you know, to go be somebody. You know what I'm saying? And there's no greater time to learn how to build when you're younger, when you have energy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about you, Ray. Ray, tell the truth. If a man goes out, he busts his butt and makes a living for himself, and all of a sudden a wife shows up and sachets in and says, hi, Ray. I'm Barbara. Pleased to meet you. Ray, high value now. Ray, I ain't studying Barbara. You know what I'm saying? It would have been a better if she had met Ray when he was younger. You see what I'm saying? While he was coming up, but she would have been able to appreciate Ray a little better. But you know, Ray now she's looking at Ray like he a sucker, getting ready to get licked. You know what I'm saying? She just don't know. You don't know what it takes to get to be Ray. You know what I'm saying? Ray ain't no fool. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna let you just sashay in here and prop your feet up. He gonna give you a list of stuff you need to be doing. And next thing you know, I don't want to do that no more. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So I think this conversation needs to be wrapped up when I talk about how we're supposed to actually handle marriage when it comes to finances. Black David, do me a favor, man. Run that beautiful bean footage with the doctor and let's see what she's got to say. I know they gave her trouble too.
The number one hate that I for sure get is when I tell married couples to combine their finances.
The audacity.
People get so angry with me, George. Oh.
So people are comfortable sharing DNA and a bed.
A baby.
But not an account that holds money.
No.
They go, not on my watch. Don't tread on me, Rachel.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
What's behind that?
I'll say a lot of it probably comes from a lot of pain. You know, someone's been taken advantage of in a divorce situation, right? They've come from a family history where there's a lot of brokenness financially and they really feel the need to protect themselves. Like, I do think that it comes from a level of probably trueness in their story. But even with that, though, we just see when you are married, when you combine everything and say, we are one and we're going to work as the same team, you just win with money faster. You really do. And then on top of that, or underneath that even, is a level of intimacy that is built when you are fully transparent with your spouse on every part of marriage, let me say, which is very scary.
Sure.
And not always fun. But the more you are of that in marriage, I just think the richer your marriage is. So I still push for it because I think on a tactical level, it's easier to handle money when you're working out of one account. But then it does something to the relationship when you say, you're not going to, you pay this bill, I pay that bill. And you're acting almost like roommates.
It's very petty.
It is. And you end up running on these two separate tracks versus saying, hey, if we combine everything and we're one and we're working as a team. Somebody gave us this picture years early on in our marriage and I loved it. They're like, if you ever have an issue, put the issue out there and like stand beside each other, right? Metaphorically, but it's like that's the issue out there. It's not
you versus me.
And don't put it in the middle of you. Put it out there. And when you look at money like that, it's like, yeah, if you're a married couple, like those are our problems. Like we want to fund retirement and there's not enough in there. That's the problem. Or we're drowning in debt. That's the problem. And so how do you and I together do that? I mean, not you and I, George.
Sure.
We're not married. We're married to other people. But do you know what I'm saying?
But we have joint bank accounts with our spouses. And I thought like this is normal. Like people don't do this. And then I found out people are like, well, we have one account that's for like the shared bills and we have our savings and then we each have our personal accounts. So it's my money. I get to say what. And so then I went, well, why don't you talk about the trust issues you have with each other? If she's going, you can't spend your money that way. Have a conversation about it instead of brushing it under separate rugs.
That's it too, right? So an issue comes up and it's like, well, we'll fix the issue by separating so we don't have to deal with the issue. And in marriage, George, deal with the issue.
Yes.
Trust me, deal with the issue. Go in therapy, like do the work.
Like, I'm going to lose my sense of independence and self and autonomy.
And what I would say is have a line item in your budget that is yours. Like Winston has one, and he goes and gets rocks at Home Depot and does something in the I don't know whatever he does.
Rocks.
And then I need to go get my nails done, so I'm going to go do this.
But there's no judgment, right? Like when it's your personal Rachel category.
Yes, go do
Winston's
what you
not like
do.
You spend it on what?
No, because
that's
you
the
have
fear. They go, I don't want to have to ask for permission when I go spend my money.
It's the dollar amounts that you agree upon, and then you go. So that is one though, man, and people are angry about it, but haters gonna hate, but I'm okay with that.
All right, Jenny, what do you say? What say you?
Yeah, I definitely agree in one pot. And it's funny, because a lot of people they don't do that. They don't believe in that. They think that that's a bridge too far. When, like they were saying, like you're going to share DNA, you share a bed, you share a home, you share children, but sharing your money is just, whoa, now you're taking it too far. Now you're going off the deep end. And it's like, it reminded me of a video that I saw with this like black woman, and she was a baby mama, and she was like she was saying like, oh, I wish I would cook for a man. I wish I would, fold a man's drawers or whatever. And it's like, you're a baby mama. You let a man put his children in you, and yet you're not willing to do domestic chores for him. Like that's backwards. And people think that. And people just say stuff and they don't really think it's real. Like it's ridiculous, And I'm a firm believer in one pot. That it makes sense. Like they were also saying that it adds strength to your relationship. The more things you start dividing up in your relationship, like you have separate bedrooms, you have separate accounts, you have you guys work different places, and you have two separate cars, and then you're living two separate lives. So all you are is married is on paper. And so I think that you should have as many things joined and going together. Like, you should be having the same, I mean, you're married for a reason, that you guys like each other, that you guys want to be together. So why not be together? And I mentioned this yesterday on my show. And it's like, even if you have a spouse who is bad with money, you have to come to an agreement where it's like, okay, well, we're going to have one account, but I am going to have to say over the account. So I might change the password, or I might take all the money out and I delegate, you have your allowance, and then I will spend it on the bills and X, Y, and Z. And you can see it, you can ask me to see the money at any time. So, I'm not fooling around with it. But, it's our money. There is no your money and my money. It's because we are one. And so our money is one. And so, yeah.
Thank you, Miss Jenny. Ray, I'm going to ask you this. I already know what you're going to say, but go ahead. Have your piece.
Not in this house. It's one pot. Like that's not even a question. That should be. You know how many people get married that don't even talk about their financial situations because these men are out here dating and busting down appendages and not asking the appropriate questions or finding out if what they're getting themselves into. And no, it is one pot, because you know what? Even if you have one account, guess what? When she comes in with that student loan debt, guess who's paying that? You are. Like, these aren't things that are going to be separate. So at that point, it's like, if she's going to take you for half your stuff anyway, because if you keep the account separate, the only thing that's going to happen is one or both of you is going to end up in a lawsuit for trying to hide money, which is also illegal. Like,
right.
And you're just setting yourself up for further scrutiny, like when things dissolve, unless you guys are, I mean, with the way that stuff's going now, basically, and I've been saying this for a minute, marriage is a business decision. So technically speaking, you probably could get away with having two separate accounts and you just come together as a business union. And when y'all are done doing whatever it is that y'all doing with each other, you can separate as a business union. And if you go through and the person is semi-amicable, you can set it up to where, you know, people just walk with what they came in with. But generally speaking, the woman is going to take you for every single thing that they can get their hands on, because emotions become involved. And when a woman gets emotional and sees red, it is game over. There's no more logic. There's no more rationality. They just start taking stuff. And it's anything that, and then you also have a lawyer involved that's in her ear that's going, hey, we can go get that. Hey, we can take that. Hey, you know, you're entitled to this. So, I mean, we can do all this interesting little finessey type stuff. Like, the best thing you could possibly do probably is to A, have your stuff together. B, when you go into a marriage, if you're worried about your stuff getting taken, actually have some assets before you get married to put into a prenup. Protect your stuff that you've accumulated. Don't marry cocktail waitresses with nice appendages. Marry someone in your same social status. And I'm not talking about the piece of paper. I'm talking about net worth in that realm. Marry someone who has stuff. You got your own house. Make sure that she has her own house, because you can rent one of them while you're married. Don't let go of no properties. That way, you guys have set things in place to where, like, if stuff doesn't work out, she's got stuff that she needs to protect. She's going to understand why a prenup is necessary, because she has things. You have things. Obviously, you're going to want one, but like, the only reason this prenup conversation is an issue is because most of these chicks just show up with appendages and nothing else but debt. She has nothing because she just looks cute. Like, her feet never touch the ground. She ain't never needed to have nothing. Like, that's the reason this becomes an issue. And like, I'm very much of the mindset, like, if somebody comes in that isn't equally yoked with me, you're signing a prenup either way, or I'm not marrying you. Like, but there's going to be a clear understanding of why. And it's not me being a jerk. I'm like, look, the stuff that I've built myself before you showed up, you do not just get to sit at the finish line, ladies, and pick winners anymore. We're hip to that game. It's not happening. The stuff that I built myself when you showed up is mine. It is. That castle was already made. If we separate, you leave the castle. Castle's mine. It was here. I made it. The stuff that you have is yours. Because, like, I mean, dudes don't go after stuff they're entitled to in divorces because we're men. Like, stuff that we are entitled to, we don't go after this. So this normally, outside of these celebrity occurrences, which is cool, because like, I honestly think more men should start taking women's stuff. Like, why not?
That's what Corey said. Right? He asked Tia, I want spousal support since you leaving. You know?
Right.
I believe whoever files got to pay, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you decide you want to leave, you got to pay up out of here, you know. I think that'll stop a lot of people from getting divorced, man. You know, whoever decides they want to leave, they got to pay. You know. But that's neither here nor there. Here's my thing, man. Whenever, Ray, we have situations like that, that's the reason why building together is important, because along the way, if she doesn't know how to, you know, do this type of stuff, or if he doesn't know, they can learn from each other. You see what I'm saying? And eventually you're going to get to the point where you're going to be like, hey, I don't want to work with nobody else. I'm working with somebody who knows what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that we get away from it. I heard somebody say, if you don't have a business in the business with your wife, you shouldn't be in the business with them. You know what I'm saying? She had no business being with them. So my thing is this, man, get together and learn each other's interests. You know what I mean? Get down to what they're interested in, learn what they like. I can't tell you how many women who've actually learned how to, understand the game of football because their husband was into football, and how so many men have learned to cook because their wife was into cooking or something like that, or vice versa. And it actually strengthens their bond. And then they go out and they find something new together that neither one of them have done, and they learn it together. Those are the things that actually build the bond. You know what I mean? They don't want to, once you find somebody who you can do anything and everything with, you won't want to be with nobody else. True enough, they might have experienced other things that your spouse may not have experienced, but at the same time, you still wouldn't want to be with nobody else. So that's why it's important to make sure that you choose somebody that is willing. Mm-hmm. That is the major point. I don't know why we keep skipping that part. Find somebody that's willing, and ask the right questions. You know what I'm saying? Miss Jenny, I'm going to go ahead and wrap everything up. Could you go ahead and tell the people where they can find you, and you can give us your final thoughts?
Okay. Before I do that, what you just said, it reminded me of when my husband and I had just first gotten married. It's the summer after we got married. I worked at a nail salon, and he worked at an auto parts store, and he was tired of doing that. And I told him, I was like, hey, you can make really good tips if you come work at the nail salon with me. And he said, what the hell? And he started working at the nail salon with me, and he was doing pedicures, and it was so hilarious. And he didn't know how to polish, but he's strong, so he could massage their legs well. And he was learning how to cut file nails and cut and file nails. And after a few weeks, he had a regular. He had this older lady that would call up to the shop and be like, "Is Mario in?"
Oh.
And so that just cracked me up about what you were saying. You guys start to get into each other's things that you're into.
Right.
And I've run a car meets with him because he's a car guy, and I look at it and I'm like, yep, that's an engine. That's pretty much all that I can contribute. But so yeah. But you guys can find me at Miss Jenny R. Jones. That is my home base. I do once a month on Chaotic Reacts, and I do every Saturday night at 9:00 Eastern Standard Time on Black Men Unfiltered. I have Instagram. That's also Miss Jenny R. Jones, and those are pretty much the best places where you can find me. I'm pretty active on any one of those. And so, yeah, thank you again, Lost in Translation. This has been great.
It has truly been a pleasure having you this evening. Thank you for joining us for this wonderful conversation. As always, it's been a pleasure, Miss Jenny. Thank you for coming through. We really do appreciate you. Reckless Ray, go ahead and give us your final thoughts, sir, and tell the people how they can reach you.
Okay, so my final thoughts are, I think we have, like I said, I don't think it's necessarily all doom and gloom unless we actively allow ourselves to be invaded, because this border issue is kind of problematic. But overall, we've got to sort out the incentive structure for men, because the women's incentive structure is very solidified. It's age old. It's been tested. It's been tried. It's been trued. I have no problems with it. I understand everybody wants the best deal. The problem is we have shamed men into the point to where women believe that we should just accept whatever we are given, which isn't much, and that you're still going to incentivize there to be strong, productive, competitive men. Those who are self-motivated like myself, that just want the ability to navigate as we see fit, that don't want to live in dysgenic bodies, constantly hurting, constantly having mobility issues, and dying when we get any random disease that they make because our bodies can't fight anything off because they're fighting to just exist. We're still going to exist, but there's going to be less. There's going to be much less of those caliber of just solid men. There's always going to be some semblance of duty-driven men. There are going to be men who do what are necessary. There's always going to be them. There's just going to be less. Now, as that lessening happens, you're going to find more and more women unable to find a good man because you've disincentivized, like most of you don't no longer qualify for that echelon of men because those men are rare, and y'all are running around here ratcheting up the obesity rate and just not really doing your part to incentivize those good men to want to be with you. You're not pleasant. You don't smile. You're upset all the time. You run around mad, complaining, nagging. Just not pleasant to date, really, beyond a night or two. And yeah, it's just we're gonna have to have some course corrections. We're gonna have to have some resettings. I believe that there's going to be generations of women that are going to be living outside because they're so strong and independent that they're going to move completely out of the patriarchy, and they're going to live under bridges, and there's going to be bridge witches, or they're going to have these spinster hovels where there's 19 of them because they don't really get jobs that pay that well in a house to keep that house afloat, and it's just going to be a nightmare in there. It's going to smell like a fish fry from across the street, and it's going to be terrible. And there's going to be lots of screeching and reeing and crying about the patriarchy. And those of us who are out here winning, we're just going to not acknowledge that you exist, like we have been, like we will continue to do. Because just like you don't see average men, we do not see you chicks. We look at a set of circumstances and we're like, yep, bloop, you no longer exist as a person. You're a receptacle. So, I mean, good luck with that. Like you're this wedge that's being driven. It's just driving the good men further from you, because those of us who have been out here that are good men, that are existing in this dating market, we are now starting to see the patterns that you're exhibiting. You're training yourselves to be terrible partners with high expectations that aren't pleasant to be around for any expanse of time with your clothes on. And so you're going to get treated as such. Like I'm sure you'll get interest from good men. You'll get played with by good men, but you will not marry a good man. You will not be able to lock down a good man. Those days are coming to an end. And like any man that deals with you at this point, the good men, if he has a good circle around him, are going to shame him, are going to warn him, are going to be like, hey man, maybe you shouldn't cash out on this first one that you got your hands on that was letting you get a little bit of attention. Like maybe that's not the greatest idea. But with that said, I'm Reckless Ray De Niro. Most of the time you can find me talking about money, something that I believe is very important for being able to navigate the society that we found ourselves in. Over on at Reckless Ray De Niro over on YouTube. It's Reckless Ray De Niro on pretty much most mediums. I'm on YouTube, the Instagram. We've got a Twitch channel that we're seeing how long we can keep afloat till they shut me down over there. But yeah, definitely tap in. We're always talking about getting to the bag and proving yourself. And that's for men and women, because women, since you guys want to be strong and independent, you should probably have your finances right. Just a suggestion, might help. But yeah, that's it. That's what we're going to go with.
Thank you, Ray, for coming out. Miss Jenny, Ray, thank you guys. Chat, I want to thank every last one of you guys for coming out. It has truly been a pleasure. And I want to go ahead and let everybody know, before you leave, make sure that you guys hit the like button, hit subscribe. Tonight's conversation was about making sure that we have a foundation, setting up your marriage as a cornerstone instead of a capstone. Remember that building healthy relationships is not easy. There will be good days, there will be bad days, and there'll be some days in between. But just know this, it's worth it. Each and every day that you're with your spouse, make sure that you appreciate them and let them know, thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing out the best in me. And hopefully, when you get that opportunity, they'll say the same for you. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Black David, excellent job, sir, on our inaugural Super Sunday on Lost in Translation podcast. Listen, guys, you can reach us here every Sunday night at 8:30 with bells on, baby. And I hope you'll be back. I want to thank every last one of you guys for coming out. You can also find me on Humble Dash channel on Monday nights at 9:30. Come through, or you can also follow along on this channel because we'll be broadcasting as well. You'll find us here on Lost in Translation Sunday. I'm also on Tuesday on Black Men Unfiltered, Talk That Talk Tuesday. And of course, you can always find me at the barbershop on Black Men Unfiltered channel on Friday nights. So it's been a true pleasure speaking with every last one of you guys. Miss Jenny, thank you guys for coming out. Ray, as always, a pleasure. Black David, thank you. I couldn't do it without my moderators, Big Bad Bull, Lady Navoa, you know, Quiet Storm, I know you're watching. And also I want to give a big shout out to Sir Hale. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for allowing us to continue the conversation of Super Sundays over here on the Lost in Translation podcast. Remember, y'all, make sure that you live each and every day and make it your best. Thank you guys for coming out. Peace.